All right, class, today we're going to be doing air class, and when you go through these problems, there's going to be a number by the problem. That number is going to correspond with your test review. Have your test review out from yesterday. That way, because I'm going to let you use that test review when you take your assessment, you can add notes to it. That's like your note sheet for the test, all right? And so the problems on the board today, they're going to be numbered, and they're not going to be like, it's going to go 1, 2, 7, 8, it's going to be bouncing all over, but those numbers are going to correspond with the test review numbers, okay? Because we can't go through using air class the whole 20 problems. We'll run out of time. So we're hitting problems from every category, though. So Crow out in charge, be in the air class. Test reviews, have those out with a pencil and paper so you can add notes to it. And then if you want to use a marker and eraser, you can. And make sure your cell phones are put up. We'll be ready to rock and roll here in a second. So as you can see, this question is going to be real similar in style to number 1 on the test review. I think that also means it should match number 1 on the test. Usually they're lined up the same or very close. Okay, all the students have entered their answers. Here are the results. Need to have a little bit better consistency with our group. So let's take a moment. I'll try to be quick, brief, etc. So if you've got this 15x squared thing, this whole thing is set equal to 0. So y is just going to be 0. And you could flip it around if you're more comfortable with that or not. 15 is the smaller of the two numbers. 15 will go into 30 because 2 15s is 30. So when you're looking for a GCF, 15 is the number GCF. Also, they both have an x. Pick the smallest exponent between the two, and that's the amount of x's you take out. There's your greatest common factor, so you're going to have 15x, and then that's a 1x minus 2. This is all equal to 0. That or that will equal 0 because this number is being multiplied times this number. Yeah?
Isn't negative 30 smaller than 15?
No, you don't look at it like that way.
Oh.
You look at it as size, not sign. Okay? So 15x is 0, or x minus 2 is 0. This happens when x is 0, or you could divide by 15 on both sides. This one, if you add 2, you get x is 2. So the answer was 2 and 0, which was A. Oh my. Oh my.
Nah.
I did not expect that result. Okay. It is a very good thing then that I added another question of this style next. Go ahead and make any notes on your test review that you need to make now. I'll give you a moment. Okay, we're on a similar example of this style question. They'll input their answers here and then we'll look at the data. You can do it, Ollie.
What?
All right, we'll see what the results are. Need one more person to enter. Thank you. Let's see where we're at. Okay, a lot of people chose D this time. Let's see if we got better. I think we might have. 6 is the smaller of the two numbers. You can take that 6 out. So take an x out because that's the smaller of the two exponents. So when you take 6x, that leaves us with x minus 3, and this is set equal to 0. This is 0 if x is 0. This one is 0 if x equals positive 3. All right, 78%. We still need to do a little bit better, but that is definitely an improvement. Please leave yourself any notes that you might need on your test review, but since this is the second one, you may not need as much. I'll give you just a second and then we're going to jump on our next problem. All right, our next question matches number 4. Do y'all know, were the directions still factor and solve?
No. It says we need to-
On number 4?
It's still not very solid.
It's still in the factor and solve category on the test review. But which way do you know you could solve this if you wanted to?
Using the quadratic.
Quadratic formula works for everything, but the directions say factor and solve. We should probably do that. That's why I'll show it. But you could, if you felt concerned enough, you could use that, the quadratic formula. Plan. It's recorded. All right, last 2 people. I need you to enter your results.
Is my name up there?
Risa and Emily.
Yes. I can't see that far. I can't either. I can't see them. They're all blurry. How much Cheerios? There's Cheerios? Surely you would say that.
Calm down.
It's because there's someone said Cheerio and I was Cheerio behind me.
You guys done?
just cheap.
Morning, Emily. Okay, let's see what we got.
That's all.
All right, we're a little bit all over the place. Let's take a look. Guys, listen. At this point, I'm going to divulge the legal cheat for all the problems.
The legal cheat.
The legal cheat.
The legal cheat.
Yes. What we're solving for on these is we're finding the zeros. If you don't know how to do the problem, a lot of people picked B, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that means -1 should be one of the answers, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
I plugged in -1. You can use a calculator. What does it equal? What does it equal? What does it equal?
0. 0.
If it's a solution, then if I plug in that number, it's supposed to equal 0. So -1 should be a solution. Does any other answer have -1? Oh. But let's do it the way we're supposed to do it. You would multiply the first and the last. That would give us 15. 3 times 5 is 15. You find numbers that multiply to be that, add to be 8. And then we have to have this divided by 3 because that's what we multiplied by. Well, 5 and 3 make 8. And they multiply to 15. So we choose the opposite numbers as the solutions. X equals -5/3 or -1. B was the answer.
Yeah.
How many of these questions are you going to be solving? The entire test.
Yeah.
And when we're solving, we're finding the solutions, the roots, the zeros, the x-intercepts, all of which means the algebra should equal 0. Those solutions, if you plug them in, should cause the algebra to equal 0. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
And you have a piece of paper that I'm going to let you use on the assessment. And you can write down yourself some notes, right?
Right.
Okay, so hopefully you wrote that down.
I'm ready.
I'm going to jump to the next question. You need me to wait? I'll hit pause. It's going to take forever to upload this thing. This is taking a while, but for actually to spend the time it takes to really make sure we understand each question type, it's worth it, I think. All right, so take your time a little bit, but this one is from the category where problem number 5 falls on your test review. You're supposed to solve it directly using the square root symbol.
Wait. Who's first?
Wait, what?
Who's up? Anchor.
All right, so we're asking everybody to input their answers now. Some weren't finished, so the results may not be phenomenal, but we'll go over it in a second. Brooks didn't answer. Went to the restroom. Just make your best guess, Tahira.
Where's your
Okay, we're a little all over the place. Guys, oh my dear Lord, you fell for it. Hold on. I told you that I would do this, and you fell for it.
Oh my god.
First, you've got to get this x squared by itself. Remember I gave you guys all that dating advice? No.
Well, it wasn't very good.
Yes, we remember. Yeah.
First you got to do the small talk.
I remember.
Yeah, give him the cold shoulder. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, now you got people blowing up my phone. Just
The
like
small talk's got to be pretty good before she'll. So he has to go out to dinner at Chili's.
And then you gotta know the right moment.
I'm convinced he's gonna do something.
And then, there is no kissy on the cheek until you've taken her home. So x squared
take her home.
is by herself, sort of, because dad's in the living room polishing the shotgun, but you walked her to the doorstep. So you're sort of alone, but you're sort of not. That would be the right moment to go in for the peck.
Nah.
Little peck on the cheek.
Well, the dad's calling the shotgun.
That's why it's just a peck on the cheek. Alright, so, meaning that's when you square root. You don't square root until the x squared is isolated by itself, and then we get our answers. But guys, there are usually two answers to these things. A lot of y'all chose 35% of us. The answer was 4, but it's not just 4.
Plus what's right.
-4 was also a solution, so B is the answer. That's the difference between. See, the problem is you don't get some credit for getting half of the answer right.
Well, I should.
It's an all or nothing. So 35% of y'all lost out, even though you knew a little bit. That's the danger of these multiple choice assessments. So B was the answer. Leave yourself that note on your test review that there should be 2 solutions. For almost all of these, make sure that you are all the way sure if you're going to do one solution, because that's a little bit rare. Okay, we'll jump to the next question. It's from the same category. You're going to have to use the square root to solve.
Oh, I can do that.
Please take your time. All right. All right, step 1. He may not be. There's a pretty not great illness going around.
He's fine.
So let's go ahead and figure this out. Need to add 64 and add 64. Remember, we don't want to use the square root symbol unless the object squared is by itself. So we just do one step. And now we have this x plus 9 all squared equals 64. At this point, now we can use the square root symbol and get rid of that item squared. This allows us to get to the letter, and you get plus or minus 64. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can split it, or you can just write plus or minus 8. I don't mind which way you do it. You need to get how many answers though?
2.
Yeah. So if I minus 9 and minus 9, we have x equals -9 plus or minus 8. So now you gotta sit down and figure out your 2 different solutions. -9 plus 8 is -1. -9 minus 8 is -17. So we should have picked D for our answer.
Didn't I choose D?
Now let's stop for a moment. Let's say you weren't sure for whatever reason, but we have -1 as one of our answers. What is -1 plus 9?
10, 9, no.
Hold on.
8.
-1 plus 9 is the same as 9 minus 1. 8. What is 8 squared?
64.
64. 64 minus 64 is 0. Okay, so if you want to verify that your answer is right or wrong, you just have to do that. You can use your calculator and substitute in one of the numbers and make sure it equals 0, and then you can be assured that your answer or your work is good. Okay, does everybody understand this? It's legitimate, it's a legal technique to make sure your answers are right. to check them. And you only have 20 on your assessment. How much work would it really take to stop and verify your answers if you only have 20 on the test?
You're so right, Coach Mills.
Well, I'm just saying, I would highly encourage you to, because this is a very reasonable assessment if you look at it from that lens. All of you should be able to get 100, because you can check every answer. All right, this is the next one. Yes, it's very similar. It's the same category.
But it equals
Please respond. Put in your best guesses. Brooks, Caden. Lisa, Emily, Brooks. Emily. Gracias. Okay, let's see what's going on here. I hope this is providing you guys some benefit. I see the results are pretty good the last few goes. Remember, I told you the factoring one was causing the most issues with students usually. So you want to add 10. This is the item we got to get by itself. So we have to add the 10 and then divide by the 4. Okay? So 4x minus 5 all squared equals 36. Now we divide by that 4, divide by that 4. Now we're dealing with the item squared. Okay, did I go? I know I went a little fast, but you want to get the object squared by itself. So this is, you got to handle this, and then you got to deal with this. And then the object squared will be by itself. And now is the moment, now is the time to use the square root. Or in dating terms, peck on the cheek.
Yeah.
Right?
Just make sure the dad don't have a shotgun.
The dads probably should have shotguns.
Why should they all have shotguns?
You gotta just fit the role. It's a story, guys. It's a story.
I don't want them with
I know
me.
you
It's
wanna
a
look,
role.
you wanna look intimidating, I get it, but like, you're really just,
Yeah, my mom does.
Well, a father's children, those children are his treasure. They're the greatest treasures he has.
yeah,
And as such, need to be guarded and
yeah,
valued.
yeah.
I'm going to have to get a much bigger shotgun
What?
because of my daughter.
Alright.
16 gauge.
Something that's borderline ridiculous.
Glock
16.
17.
That's not a shotgun.
I don't know.
I'll
How
beat
about,
him up.
how about
I'll
one of
beat him
those
up.
old elephant rifles?
I know that.
I'll beat him up, Coach Mills.
Alright. So here we gotta add 5. Now look, I could split it in 2, or I could just say x equals 5 plus or minus 3. 5 plus 3, 8. 5 subtract 3, 2. So you get x is 8 or 2. So we get C, and we had a real good response. I'm kind of surprised in a way that this problem, which requires so many steps, we have 83.3% of the class getting it right. But then some of those initial questions, which only have 1 or 2 steps, we had a lot of struggle with. But this is good. This is good. Definitely a positive. Let's jump to the next one. Okay, we should be really strong at these. We put a lot of time into it. I have the quadratic formula on the board over here. For the I have it up here for the video as well. Okay, great. So go ahead. You can begin.
Take it in a 0.
Are you gonna go off
Ollie, Brooks. All right. This is okay. I would, quiet please. I would hope for a little bit more. You can check your answers. A lot of people picked A. Okay. Let's try 2. 2 squared minus 3 times 2 minus 10. That's 4 minus 6 minus 10. That's negative 12, not 0. One quick check in your calculator would let you know if your answer was right or wrong. We gotta be a little better. You guys can check these in your calculators. Guys, I can't compete with you. Zip it. Girls. Let's try 5. 5 squared minus 3 times 5 minus 10. That's 25 minus 15 minus 10. That's negative 25. 25 minus 25 is 0. That will let you know that that was the answer. If you wanted to go through the quadratic formula, I don't know. You would have b squared minus 4ac would be negative 3. This would be 49. So it would be 3 plus or minus the square root of 49 over 2. The square root of 49 is a 7. 3 plus 7 is 10 over 2, which is 5. 3 minus 7 is negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. Well, that was C. Or B, excuse me. Stop. Alright, we good?
Yeah.
Alright, place in vertex form. This might be more of a challenge.
Oh.
It's okay. Alright. Ty, Sebastian, and answer. It's okay.
Oh, my bad.
Alright.
Okay.
Alright. We are all over the place. I kind of suspected as much. Let's look here. So if we're going to complete the square and place in vertex form, we got to go from ABC format to this quantity squared format, which is vertex form. This is the standard form. These are potential vertex form solutions. First of all, you would move that 4 out of the way. So we have y minus 4, x squared minus 6x, and we don't know what we need to have there. It just needs to be a lot nicer than that. And what I mean by nice is like a perfect square kind of thing. So all we know is, can we stop? Just be better, man. You've got a negative 6 it's got to add to. And it's got to be the same number because we know this is going to turn into something squared. What same number can you use to add together to be a negative 6? Negative 3. It's also half of that term. So you need 2 negative 3's, which is why this will be x minus 3. But the only way it gets there is because they multiplied by together to get a 9. So you had to add 9 onto each side to make that happen. Now, whenever you're doing this, you should know it'll be half of that. So these two potential answers cannot be the solutions because they have 6's, negative 6, not negative 3's. So it's y plus 5 is this, and then you subtract 5 on both sides. We are done. And we should have gotten D, which, you know, I always want more, but first of all, if you chose B, just know it's got to be half of the BX term. These are not options, okay? It had the right end number, but you put the wrong answer here. So we should have been choosing from C and D. Again, I would like to have more people get it right, but this is kind of a challenge. But hopefully we can rule out here, and then you've got a 50-50 shot, and or just know the whole thing, right? Know what to do. Okay, we are on our second to last slide. This one is like number 19. Now, if you recall with the word problems, I stated that you could do all of them using the quadratic formula. You don't have to, But if you wanted to use the quadratic formula, you need an ABC format. Is this in standard form?
Do you use 0 as the?
Well, okay, it's gotta be a squared term, then a singular exponent, then no letter. Okay, so if you wanna use the quadratic formula on these, you would need to word it more like this: negative 16 t squared, then you have 0 t's, and then the constant. If you wanna use quadratic formula, okay? Otherwise, you set it equal to 0, and you subtract, and then divide, and then square root. Okay? Alright. Good luck. But you can use quadratic formula on all the word problems if you want to. Most of us chose D, that's 94%. I hope we're right. Me personally, I would probably just solve this. Negative 16 t squared plus the 6400, and you'd set that equal to 0. I would subtract. But if you just want to focus on quadratic formula, I'm totally cool with that. That does not matter to me how you do it.
You're saying that.
So we would divide by negative 16, and you get t squared equals, what does that equal? I don't know that off the top of my head.
400.
400?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. So now when you go square root, this is real easy here. You get plus or minus 20, because the square root of 400 is plus or minus 20. We can't take the negative answer, so it must be positive 20. Okay? With real life scenarios, we don't do negative time. Any questions or concerns about this problem? How many solved it by the quadratic formula? Okay, how many solved it the way I just did? Okay, it doesn't matter to me which one. Looks like we have really good results here. Final question for the day.
Yippee! Wahoo! Yo, guys.
Another one of those little word problems. Just to make sure you have had all the practice. Do you guys feel like you're prepared?
I feel like I'm very prepared, Coach.
Okay.
I ain't ready.
Okay, I tell you what.
I feel like
Why not?
Yeah, go ahead. Do this final question, ABC. You use the quadratic formula on this one for sure. That's the only way for this particular problem. You can't get C.
I got B.
C is a negative time. You might have gotten C if you chose the
Sorry
plus.
about that.
Remember, it's always got to be the positive. Yeah, look, it was split by those who responded. Hey, overall, great job, guys.
Coach, you use the. We're gonna have to watch that video on YouTube later.
Try both, but when your solution is negative, you can't have that in real time. This is saying, when does it hit the ball? In negative 2.3 seconds, coach. How is that possible? You know what I'm saying? So this was an answer, but it was a bad answer. That was the final answer, the positive version.
I'm gonna